So one of the big activities that we've been working on over the course of Module 9 and now into Module 10 has to do with developing children's ability to read through choosing good children's books and then offering engaging opportunities to read with others. Reading aloud is actually one of the best predictors that we know of to reading success, and this is all based on several decades worth of research. So, what they have found is that when children are read to on a daily basis, their exposure to different language and vocabulary increases drastically, which then leads to school success. And this research has continually reinforced this habit of reading aloud. You have the exposure to the language, which leads to a more sophisticated vocabulary and an understanding of what those words mean. And then exposure to a literacy-rich environment equals a stronger interest in reading books for pleasure and being able to communicate and interested in learning new words and how things are connected. And then you add those two things together, and the children are more likely to succeed because they have that foundational knowledge to be able to apply to other school settings. So some ways that we can foster reading with infants is obviously reading out loud to infants on a daily basis. Choosing good books for them or appropriate books, things with bright colors, images, few words, if any, making sure that they're either board books or cloth books so that they can handle and manipulate them on their own. Just general simplicity with the books. And then kind of following their interest. If they're staying engaged with you, continue to read to them. Make it fun and exciting. Use different voices or animal sounds and allowing them time to be able to participate back. What I mean by that is they're not necessarily going to verbally communicate to you. They might kind of sit and stare at you or smile. Allow time to pause so that you can have those nonverbal conversations. Allow them to touch the book and get involved with it. They're very tactile. They may want to put it in their mouth, but that is more than okay. It's how they're connecting with books and learning to enjoy them in their own way. And then obviously going back to being expressive. Take things up a notch or bring things down a notch. Use different inflection in your voice to keep their engagement sustained. With toddlers, you might want to create a nice little nook with some books for them to be able to go over and get on their own. You're going to want to continue to make things engaging if you are reading to them, and obviously follow their interests. If they're not interested in the book, put it away and go do something else. If they want you to continue to read and read and read, then obviously continue to do that. But allow time for children to be able to read to you, meaning that you're going to sit down and they're going to take control and turning the pages. They might be jibber-jabbering at you, the story may not make sense, but you can then maybe ask some open-ended questions to try to encourage and solicit that communication back. You can also start to introduce more of a sophisticated vocabulary, meaning that you're introducing words that they may not necessarily already know, but if you have a way that you can then describe what the word means in terms that they do know, that will help them continue to build that vocabulary. In preschool, we can focus on the same things that we've been focusing on with infants and toddlers, with regular reading time, using the illustrations to tell the story. But we also want to introduce concepts such as the author and an illustrator and helping them to understand that they are the ones that write the story or make the words and then make the pictures that go along with the story. Encourage them to retell the story in their own words, either by looking at the pictures or from what they can remember, or even acting it out. Maybe they could get some props from Home Living or even make their own. You always want to make sure that you have a copy of the books that you're reading to children available after you read it. Children love to look back through and look at it on their own terms. It helps them make connections again with the print, with what you were saying and sharing, and then for them to kind of explore underlying concepts on their own. Another idea is that if you don't want to make the book available, say you rent it from the library, you could always create an audio recording so that children could play it back, and then maybe they could make some pictures that would go along with it so that they could follow along with the audio recording with what they have created. I want to go back to this first bullet here, which is the NELP. The NELP is actually the National Early Literacy Panel, and they do a lot of publications and reports based on research that they fund and head up in early literacy. So some of the things that they have pinpointed to promoting reading among preschoolers is obviously teaching the alphabet, which we talked a little bit about with the writing, but you want to make sure that you're teaching it in ways that they're going to understand and helping them make those connections. It's not just about memorizing the ABCs, but for them to be able to connect the different letters of the alphabet with things in the environment surrounding them. The second thing would be to introduce even more of a rich vocabulary so that they stretch their thinking. But instead of maybe describing dinosaurs as dinosaurs, maybe you could introduce the concept of an herbivore, a carnivore, a pterodactyl, a triceratops. And so that extends their thinking a little bit, and you could even bring that back into, a content area such as math and science so that they could learn about the life cycle of the dinosaurs, what they ate, how they lived, or even classifying them by the type of dinosaur that they were. Help children develop a phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is going to be when they're able to notice and manipulate the sounds in words. The last thing is obviously pretty self-explanatory, and we've already covered this several times in this video, which is reading aloud every day. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have, especially in the preschool room, time set aside to be able to read to children every single day. That doesn't mean that children have to come, but that you're at least offering that as an opportunity. It will give them a little bit of a choice in their learning, but still the opportunity to be able to read on a daily basis.